And even the memories of his mother country is painful for the poet, for the speaker. He experiences a kind of peaceful but painful recognition that Kashmir is no longer his home. He prefers to be known as a Kashmiri. He always considers Kashmir as his home, but Kashmir has changed a lot, and Kashmir cannot come back to its original shape, and so that painful feeling is revealed in the poem. And again, regarding the structure of the poem, and so don't forget the theme of the poem. It is about the self-imposed exile and longing. And again, remember, it is a nostalgic poem. The main theme is nostalgia for the mother country. And so, here now, see, and after we have discussed the theme of the poem and what made the poet reflect on these ideas, why these memories of his motherland comes to his mind. These things we have discussed. That is, one day the poet, the speaker of the poem, received a postcard from Kashmir, his motherland, carrying a small picture of Kashmir at the right top corner. And seeing the beautiful picture of his mother country, he feels great sorrow, a great nostalgia, and he feels that he has become an alien to his own country, and he feels that he is an outsider from his own mother country. And so this is the theme of the poem. And before going to the poem, just understand the structure of the poem. See, I will be reading lines from the text, and then you will get a clear idea of the text. Remember, I am talking about the structure of the poem. The poem is written in free verse. 3 stanzas are there. But there is a difference in the pattern. The first 4 lines, that is the first stanza. Then 6 lines are there in the second stanza. Again 4 lines in the third stanza. Understood? And so altogether 14 lines. Usually a 14-lined poem is called a sonnet. And so when you go through this postcard from Kashmir, we are reminded of the sonnets of Shakespeare. For Shakespeare, sonnet is the format for the love poem. And here, this is like a sonnet reflecting the poet's, the speaker's great love for his mother country. And so, it's written in free verse. Then 3 stanzas are there. First stanza carries 4 lines. Second stanza 6 lines. And finally the third stanza again with 4 lines. This is the structure of the poem. And it is written in the format of the Shakespearean love sonnet. Always bear in mind this point. And again, when you study Agha Shahid Ali, always make a comparative study between him and A.K. Ramanujan. Both of them talk mainly about the self-imposed exile and the longing to return to one's mother country. And now we will go through the lines of the poem so that you will be clear about the meanings of the lines. Postcard from Kashmir. Kashmir shrinks. Shrinks means reduced into my mailbox. Kashmir is reduced to a small size in the shape of a postcard. Indirectly, see, an indirect reference comes there. The grand Kashmir diminishes to a small, delicate picture on a postcard. See, Kashmir shrinks into my mailbox. The speaker of the poem talks about a postcard he received from Kashmir, his mother country. And he talks about the picture of Kashmir which is set at the side of the postcard. And so the first line itself is very suggestive. You have to read between the lines when you study poetry. And so Kashmir shrinks, Kashmir is reduced. Indirect meaning is that the grand Kashmir diminishes into a tiny, delicate picture on a postcard. My home, that the great nostalgia, the great love for his mother country. He says that it is my home. But critics say that it is ironic because Agha Shahid Ali is away from Kashmir. For years, he hadn't visited Kashmir for years. Yet he says that Kashmir is his home. A neat 4 by 6 inches, that is the size of the postcard. Is it clear? Dear students, you should be very attentive. When you study poetry, you have to understand the meaning of the line. You have to read and reread the lines, and you will be able to get new meanings and new dimensions. And so, Kashmir is reduced to a small picture in the postcard which the poet got, the speaker of the poem got. And then he says that it is my home. There is irony in the line because the speaker is away from his mother country for years. And finally, the last part, he even says that picture of Kashmir, it is like a black and white negative in my mind. The picture is not very clear, picture of my mother country. Yet he calls Kashmir his home. I always loved neatness. That is the third line. And see, the picture, the postcard evokes in him memories about his birthplace. And now he realizes that Kashmir is a very neat and beautiful place. And so the reader is forced to make a contrast in his or her mind. Originally, Kashmir, so beautiful, so neat, so excellent. But what is the present condition of Kashmir? And see, now I hold the half-inch Himalayas in my hand. Himalayas, the gigantic Himalayas. In the picture, it is only half-inch in size. And so he can hold it in his hand. The speaker is holding the postcard in his hand. And then he says that this is my home. I can hold my home in my hand. Even the Himalayas, it is in my hands. And this is home. Again he says, this is my home. And this the closest I will ever be to home. Keeping the postcard close to his heart. The speaker says that now I am so close to my home. Or within the split of a moment, he was able to reach his mother country. Whereas in real life it is not possible. Now he is not in a position to return to his country, Kashmir. But the picture took him immediately to the heart of his Kashmir. And when I return, the colors won't be so brilliant. See the great affection. Home, the repetition of the word home, home. Again, you should note the alliteration. Have, Himalayas, hand, hold. See the alliteration. See, the sound effect also you should notice. And the repetition of the word home, home. It is very suggestive. The great longing to return to his mother country.